Upgrades.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review brought to you from Tribeca Film Festival. This film here was amazing, an amazing documentary that I absolutely loved. And this one is called The Debutantes. And here is a quick overview synopsis of it. Following a decades-long absence, a new group of Black debutantes down on Canton, Ohio, where intergenerational group of women and girls seek to bring a new source of vibrant energy to the forgotten tradition of the debutante ball. Through personal videos and diaries and dance, three teenagers, Amelia, Dedra, and Teylar, I think I'm saying that right, navigate identity, gender norms, and realize dreams of college, medicine, and business. And this is directed by Contessa Gayles. This is one of the most important pieces of art I've seen as it relates to the empowerment of young Black women. The debutantes, at least from my perspective, and what I've always known about the debutantes, was a ball for young Black girls. So here, when we're introduced to this film, and we are introduced to these three amazingly smart and talented young women, we're also introduced to Canton, Ohio, and that they want to bring something to help Black girls out. And the thought process was bringing back the debutante ball. Here, as we're focusing on these three amazing young Black women, and not only we're focusing on them getting prepared for the ball, but everything that surrounds the ball. Like, the ball is just the last portion of it. It's the preparation of it, the studies of it, everything that they go into detail that's before the big ball is what makes this documentary amazing, as it just focuses on mental health of the young women. It focuses on life skills of the young women. It focuses on them social justice at one point for the young women. It focuses on so many different tools that this program put in place for these young women to learn, and then gives you the history of it. Like, what's the history of these balls? What's the history of this tradition? And how was it viewed in a Black community? Like, all of that is explained in great detail as we're also going through the lives of these three young women as they are trying to balance the ball, graduation, school, jobs, everything in life around this ball also, just to make it all work. And we see just what perseverance means from a young Black perspective, which is something that we don't get to see. We don't get to see too often on film, young Black women striving for excellence. That's not something we get to see. We get the unnecessary heartache stories of a young pregnant woman who has to do all of these things to survive, which that's great stories, and that's stories that a lot of people do live. But here, as these young women are going through this program, getting ready for this ball, one of the key elements was that they wanted to pick women who weren't, you could have kids. That was literally one point in time was a requirement. So that element is immediately taken out because that's not what these girls are about. Again, we're just getting three stories, and I just want to make sure I get all of the stories right, to the extent that one young woman is going to Ohio State on a full scholarship, still wants to do the ball. We get to learn, I think that's Amelia, and we get to learn the backstory of her family. We get to learn the backstory of her and her mom, and how her mom isn't necessarily her mom. Her mom is technically her cousin, but raised her as her daughter. Again, that is a story in the Black community. But the love that's shown when you see her mom, when she talks about her daughter, and just the pride that she takes, the young lady takes in not only wanting to do this ball, but also understanding that I'm graduating high school, like I'm moving on with life, and I want so much more, so much greater for myself. Again, those are stories that you don't get to see with young Black girls too often on screen. And here we get three dynamic young Black women here who just talk about pursuing life and pursuing greatness on what they believe is greatness here. And that's what makes this movie so good. Is that at no point in time does this film feel like it's overly preaching to you just the importance of being a debutante. Like, no, that's not the purpose of this film at all. The purpose of this film is, for me at least, what I took away from it, is if you give young Black women an opportunity or an outlet, they can thrive with that outlet. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that is new. Sometimes old traditions actually can work for the new generation. And here, the way they talk about debutantes and everything through history that they went through, and it's discussed about it. At one point, one of the mentors brings up, like, at one point in time, this was to groom a young woman to be a wife and learn these skills. And they all laugh, including the mentors / teachers laughing also, like, yeah, that's not the purpose of it here. Like, they took it to me, the purpose of it is to give you these life skills so that you don't fall behind. Like, these are life skills everyone should know. And don't think just because you're in a new generation, you don't need to learn these life skills. And these life skills aren't about you needing to go out in the world and grab a husband. No, they're just life skills that will help you survive this world. And I absolutely love that. Like, that is an amazing message to send to so many young Black girls. And I think Contessa does an amazing job at framing this documentary around the ball, around the debutantes, but giving you such a deeper meaning on what it means to be a Black girl growing up and having to deal with certain challenges that no one else would understand but other Black girls. So while we get a focus of 3 main characters here, I think they do a great job of, even you see the other debutantes and every like little things down to when they're practicing their dancing and trying to get steps down and them having to relinquish the control element that so many Black young girls and Black women don't have the luxury of letting go of. Like, they're set in a world that makes them feel like they always have to have control of everything because they're going to be the group of people that's going to be the most pressed upon them. The group of people who unfortunately get the most stuff thrown upon them, and they're expected to figure it out more than any group of people in the world. And here is just in a simple dance setup, and just one of the teachers saying, hey, this is where your partner, who's going to be a man, follow his lead. Don't follow your own lead. So even if he messes up, your job is to follow what he does so it doesn't look that bad. It looks like that was meant to be. And we see some of the young women struggle with that. And for me, at least, the underlying opinion of that is because they're not allowed to have situations where they follow someone who's struggling. Because that's not what Black women do. Black women tend to lead. Black women tend to lead culture. They tend to lead the way the world works in a way. And that is the sense of what all Black women go through. But here in this documentary, we understand, like, you're trying to teach these young girls that that doesn't need to always be the case. You can be vulnerable and be perfectly fine. You can deal with your mental health and put that above anyone else in the world because that's the most important part to you. As we have one of the young women who ended up taking a year off because she was just overwhelmed and couldn't deal with everything. But that's a real life situation. And to show that on screen, and then to show her by the end of this project, her still succeeding and accomplishing her goals. That is a message I think all young Black girls need to see, because you need to understand, don't let the world weigh you down. Still take time out to enjoy the little things, because that's what's going to make your life worthwhile living. And that's what the Debutantes, I believe, as a project can do for a lot of young Black women, especially the ones who get to check this film out. So, Debutantes, brought to you from the Tribeca Film Festival. Out of a possible 10, I'm going to give the Debutantes a 10 out of 10. This is a perfect project. And this is a project that I think everyone needs to see. It is so heartfelt, so meaningful. And it's a celebration of young Black womanhood that we don't ever see on film. And I will constantly say that we don't get to see a celebration of young Black womanhood. We always have to see Black women, young Black girls go through a struggle, because we, for some odd reason, have programmed ourselves to believe that if a Black woman does not go through a struggle, it can't be a real situation here. And in turn, with this project, we get 3 highly intelligent young Black women who, their struggle is basically what every teenager struggle is. It's nothing out of the ordinary. Trying to balance school, work, expectations, and all of that, and dealing with that instead of throwing you with a kid and making where you have to overcome a drug addiction and all this other stuff that is highly unnecessary to constantly throw at Black women and Black girls on film. Here we just get a positive message wrapped around the idea of bringing back an old tradition that helps refocus them and let them understand just how important they are to the world. But check it out. I don't think it has distribution currently, but it is currently playing at the Tribeca Film Festival, and it's playing online at Tribeca Film Festival also. So if you can buy a ticket online to see it, or if you go to the theaters in Tribeca and check it out, let us know what you think. This has been another JVS movie review. Peace, people.